Welcome everyone to the SciManDan podcast, the place where science and conspiracy collide. It's episode 20. Oh, I'm going to forget about episode numbers now. I've had enough of saying episode numbers. You know what episode it is. It'll be on the blurb. It's another episode of the SciManDan podcast. And joining me again this week is the main man himself. It's Catz. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, mate. Every time I hear that noise, it just inspires me, mate. And it's like, yeah, I've got my own jingle. What can I say?
Yeah, it's high praise indeed that you've got your own jingle. Anyway, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Really good. Yeah, very busy, but good. Yeah. Enjoying life. Cool. Yeah.
Just before I'm good. Just before we start, I've not been around much today. Do you know how Bournemouth got on with the football?
I couldn't tell you, mate. I couldn't tell you. I'm sure if they won, they were lucky or whatever it was. I'm sure
they're quite local to me in the championship, so I always try and keep an eye on them. But that's fine. I'll catch up later on. Everyone's like, what? What is he talking about? Right. So, flat Earth. I mean, we talk about flat Earth. We don't talk about that much actually in the podcast, do we? At the beginning.
No, not too much. No,
but. I mean, I think there's starting to be a bit of a shift. What do you reckon with flat Earth stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think all these things come in cycles, don't they? Whatever fad you've got at the minute, whatever news story or conspiracy, and flat Earth has had quite a long time, but I think everything comes in cycles. And obviously the whole outbreak, the pandemic has given something else to focus on. And you know, there's a lot of political conspiracy going on at the minute, isn't there? Oh yeah, absolutely. And they've taken a lot of that. They've taken a lot of that on, haven't they? That political stuff, rather than focus on flat Earth. But I mean, I did say I bigged it up last week. You've got a bit of a juicy one coming up, haven't you? I've got a very, very juicy one coming up, and we've just been scuppered. The video will be out by now, but I just need to get up to Blackpool to take a photograph or something. And every time we've tried, it's been a little bit too cloudy. So as soon as I can get up there and do that, I don't want to say too much, but it'll certainly send some shockwaves around the flat Earth community for sure. I said last week that it could be a groundbreaking video in terms of the flat Earth community and all of this. So. But we don't want to big it up too much, do we? No, definitely not. Definitely not. Not such things. It might be rubbish. I don't know. I mean, it sounds really good, and if you pull it off, then I think it would be great. And we were just talking about it before we started recording. I've got one coming out on Friday, where I'm fishing for flat earthers. So I'm on this website called Omegle. I got the idea because Cosmic Skeptic. Mm-hmm. He's a vegan, and he went on Omegle. So this is like a chat site where you can just chat with random strangers through video, like a Zoom call. And he had a little banner underneath that says trying to make people change his mind about veganism, and it looked quite good, quite entertaining. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to try and do some fishing for flat earthers, because they keep saying that they're multiplying, people are waking up every day, and I thought, odds are, if there's that many flat earthers like they say there is, someone's going to be a flat earther on this Omegle site. There's like 65,000 people online. So that's what I've got coming out Friday, and I've done a bit already, and I've got to say, it's not looking good for the flat Earth community. It's not looking good. It'll be a bit harder to find than they were perhaps suggesting. Absolutely. I found a donut earther. So there's currently statistically more donut earthers than flat earthers on that site. I wonder what flat earthers think of donut earthers. I wonder if you look at them and think, you're crazy. Like, I know, but he said to me, can you prove it's not a donut? And I thought, well, I can prove it's a globe, but I can't prove right now that it's not a donut. It's really difficult. Because obviously, right now over an app, you couldn't know. No, exactly. And that was a win for him. That was a win, because I said, right now, I can't prove it's not. I mean, it's difficult to prove something isn't something, isn't it? Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I tried giving him all the evidence for a globe, but he was just laughing, and I don't know if he was having me on, but who knows. Anyway, right, we're at a good point. So we're 20 episodes in on the podcast. We've had a great bunch of guests so far.
What have been some of your highlights for the first
Jim Al-Khalili.
Yeah,
I've got to get in there straight away. Like, you've had some amazing guests on, people that I've watched for years doing different things. But I've always been a fan of Jim Al-Khalili. He's featured in my lessons when I've been teaching science in school so often. And even when I'm not teaching school, if anything he does is on telly or YouTube, I will watch it. The guy, to me, is so interesting to listen to. So to get the chance to be on the same podcast as him was, I'll never forget that. It was brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, he was great. And he was a really nice guy as well, wasn't he? Like, before and afterwards, he was like really chatty and...
He was exactly as he comes across on TV. Like, because you know, sometimes you meet people and you wonder what they're going to be like. He was just like he comes across on TV. Yeah. And AB Science as well has met him.
Has he?
And and I'm sure he said he had a dance off with him at some kind of science thing. You know, for fun, he said just a really nice, down to earth, chill guy.
That is brilliant. Someone else said something about a dance off. I think it might have been Chris Linton. I can't. Someone had a.
Oh, it was him who had the dance off with him. Yeah, I've got the two mixed up. Yeah,
it was one.
It was Greg Foot.
Yeah, Greg Foot, that was it. Yeah. Greg said he had a dance off. Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
that's it. But AB Science has met him and said he was a good guy. Yeah.
He was all right as well, though. Greg Foot, wasn't he? He was nice guy.
He was brilliant, and I was showing him to my kids because obviously he's done a lot of stuff for children's TV, and they recognise his face. So
I've got a lot of admiration for the live stuff he does, the live experiments on YouTube, because we were saying we'd not seen
the amount of work.
Yeah,
and so go on.
I was just going to say I've not seen anything like that on YouTube, like live science experiments.
It was the amount of work that must go into that and the amount of planning. And I know he said when he was on the podcast with us that they were like full days. They were up to like 17-hour days. They were huge. And I just feel they've been so underwatched because, you know, when you compare them to perhaps the views that certainly your videos get, and, you know, even mine, they were... You think, well, he deserves far more views for the amount of work he's put into those and the quality of the videos.
Completely agree.
So, but they'll be around forever. People will be watching those for a long time.
Yeah,
so,
agree. There are a couple of highlights for me personally. I really liked the video with Abby Richards, the conspiracy chart. I thought that was good fun. I found out a lot of new conspiracies that day, and it's something, if you really want to look into, you could spend ages, can't you, like delving into all the different conspiracies there. I thought it was really clever. I wasn't surprised that went viral, that chart.
Well, they say some of the most clever ideas are the most simple ideas. And afterwards, I was looking at the chart and I was kicking myself thinking, why didn't I think of that? You know, because it is so simple. Yeah. But sometimes it takes, you know, that little spark, a little bit of brilliance or genius to pick out those simple things and run with them, doesn't
Absolutely, it? Yeah. And the other one I liked is that I did the episode with my mates on the Science of Red Dwarf, which unfortunately you couldn't make. And I know you're a bit gutted because you love Red Dwarf as well, don't you?
I loved it. Yeah, I was gutted about that one.
And it was great just chatting through the potential possibilities of what science could have worked and stuff like that, and what couldn't have worked, or what may have worked, and what definitely could be a possibility. It was good fun. And we talked about possibly doing another one on the science of Star Trek. Are you a Trek fan?
I am, absolutely.
Cool.
And you know, Gene Roddenberry, when he wrote Star Trek and wanted to get it into production, he had a big team of scientific advisors, and he didn't want to put anything in there that, however far-fetched, he didn't want to put anything in there that was scientifically impossible. Yeah. So that should be a good one.
I was going to say that the science in Star Trek is much more grounded, isn't it, than the science in Red Dwarf? Like, I mean, they really play with it in Red Dwarf, don't they? Like the possibilities. But if you don't know anything about science whatsoever, and you watched a Star Trek episode, you could fully believe that is a science that exists, couldn't you? Whatever they're talking about.
Well, I remember as a kid watching the old episodes, and they had the tricorders or whatever, the little communication devices from the old series. And I used to look at those and think, wow, they're amazing. And I'd rather have my smartphone now. You know, they're naff, aren't they, compared to what we've actually got?
Yeah. The best. So they were I think the best. I mean, when we do the episode, we'll invite the other guys back and we'll do it properly. But I think the best thing that you could possibly ever get out of it is that not the normal tricorder, but the medical one, which basically you put the little thing on and it tells you exactly what's wrong with you and how to fix you. And it's like, it takes 2 seconds, doesn't it? It's like an invaluable piece of kit that would be.
The best thing about that, though, is not that it can do it. It's that when the doctors are reading the information, there's about 2 LEDs on it.
Yeah.
They look at the 2 LEDs and somehow they gather all the information from that.
It reminded me actually of, we could link the two shows together here. So when Red Dwarf, they had, I don't know if you remember the episode, but Crichton had like a sort of a tricorder thing, and they were trying to figure out whether or not the area they're in was safe to breathe. And he was like, hang on a second. He's clicking all the buttons and he's like, and we will be 2 seconds, fine. and Lister's like, we really are a Mickey Mouse operation, aren't we? Oh dear.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So so
show.
hopefully we'll get those boys back and we'll all get involved on a Science of Star Trek, because we did. I don't know if I told you this. We all did a review of the Star Trek Picard show. So we did a podcast every week of of reviewing that, which was quite good fun. Have you seen that yet? The Picard one?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I know it got slammed by a lot of critics.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, anything with him in, I love it. Yeah, so I honestly, when I started this, if you'd have said to me that I'd have got Jim Al-Khalili, Chris Lintott from The Sky at Night, Matt Dillahunty, all these brilliant people, I would never have thought I would have got those sorts of guests within the first 20 episodes. So the problem is, though, that now I've got to keep it going with the level of guests.
But I mean, the reputation of the podcast will grow, and when you get in touch with someone now and you list off the people you've got, anybody receiving an email saying, "Do you want to come on this podcast? We've had Jim Al-Khalili, we've had and so on and so on." They'll think, "Oh wow, that's quite an honour to be asked."
Hopefully that's the plan. Yeah. And they'll be like, "You're not going to believe it. I've been invited on the SciManDan podcast." And they'll be like, and the other person will be like, "What? What's that?"
Oh dear. But no, I think I can't wait to see you're going to get on. Is there anybody that you'd love to get on that you've not asked yet? I'll see if I can make it happen.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after the break. So we're going to talk about potential guests and stuff after the break. But before we do that, we're going to have Catz Curiosity. So your piece of science news this week that has interested you.
Of course. Well, I tell you what. When I was looking for my piece of science news this week, I thought, well, we're a quarter of the way, roughly, about through 2021.
Yeah.
So let me do a little bit of research about the greatest scientific discoveries of 2021 so far. And for some reason, something popped up as I was looking, because it was only this afternoon I was looking, and something popped up, and it said, it was Neil Armstrong. It said, on this day, 50 odd years ago, Neil Armstrong flew an X-15 to 54,600 meters. Now, I'd never heard of the X-15, and I thought, well, I like Neil Armstrong. Let me have a look at that instead, and then I'll come back to the greatest discoveries of this year. Now, the X-15 was an experimental plane, and he was only one of 12 pilots to fly it. But just taking, we're talking over 50 years ago here. How fast do you think this plane went?
In what, miles an hour?
In miles an hour, yeah.
Miles an hour. I see how I'm going to either go really high or really low, and it's going to... 700 miles an hour.
Right. When I was looking, it said that this was the fastest plane that had ever been built and remains to this day the fastest plane that's ever been built. And I thought this was a typo, okay? 4,534 miles an hour.
What?
4,534 miles an hour. It was nearly touching Mach 7. It was hypersonic.
What sort of...
And I thought that... Go on.
What sort of G-forces is that going to...
I've no idea, but the actor would stand, I think, was it 20,000 miles an hour at the fastest in the moon mission?
Yeah.
But I thought that's got to be an error. That can't be right. 4,500 miles an hour for a plane. So I spent about half an hour looking about this plane, and it is true. It was launched midair by a B-52 bomber. It would drop it at about 500 meters up, not 500 meters up, 500. Oh, I've got that bit wrong. I can't remember how high it's got to be up. 500 miles an hour. Sorry, it had to be traveling when it was dropped. I think it was 45,000 feet. There we go. And then it had enough fuel to burn for about 2 minutes, but no more than that. Right. And it would reach these ridiculous speeds in 2 minutes. That's quite an acceleration. And then it wouldn't have any fuel left. So it would have to glide like a glider back down to the Earth at 200 mile an hour. And they landed them on lake beds. And it was experimental, but it remains to this day the fastest plane ever built. And I just thought that was incredible. 4,500 miles an hour for a plane.
That's an amazing fact. I'll tell you who would have known that. One of our early guests, Amy from Vintage Space. She knows all about that sort of stuff, doesn't she?
Oh, of course, yeah. It would have been good to.
She was the one who ruined my childhood about space shuttles. She basically said they're rubbish.
What was it she said?
She said they're rubbish. she said they're a waste of time. And I was like, no. And then she was bringing up all these points, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that. And then I'm like, oh, but I love them.
Oh, well, that's all right. So, I mean, people love collecting old Morris Minors and stuff like that. They're nice. They've got some nostalgia about them, but you wouldn't want to race one around a racetrack, would you?
No, absolutely. No. Yeah, good point. I'll always love it, because it's 100% in the 90s when I was growing up as a kid. The first kind of thing I really saw about space travel were the space shuttles, and I think it always will be a part of my history in terms of my love of that sort of thing. That's really nice, mate. Thank you for that. That's a really interesting fact. I think that the storm one, by the way, I put that to Professor Dave last week. You know, he said he didn't know either.
Did he not?
No, and he also brought up the point that in America, are they all named after women? The storms.
Oh, I have no idea about that one. No idea. But I know that one of the names that they retired for this year was Laura.
Yeah.
Now, I know it was 50-50 chance, but it was a female name and they did retire that. So,
well, someone else in the comments said they retire them when they cause huge amounts of damage, like Katrina as well was retired. So another female. So I don't know. We might have to look into that. It's definitely not over here, is it? Because we've had Andrew and... I can't remember something else. We've definitely had male names over here.
Yeah. Sure. Maybe it's the Atlantic storm season, isn't it? They go there.
Possibly.
I'll have to do some Googling on that. You've got me interested now.
Okay, cool. Right, before we crack on, I'm just going to do a slight advertisement. So you should be listening to this on Wednesday at some point. So tonight, Catz and I are going live at 9 p.m. on the app Stereo. So we've already done one show where we got people to send in their funny stories. So it's quite a good app, Stereo. You can basically listen to these sorts of live shows, and you can send in voice notes during the show to the two hosts, and you can play the voice notes, and the host can react and answer questions and things like that. So we did this first show. It's quite fun, wasn't it? On the silliest things that people have believed about science.
It was funny. You know what? It's actually a really good app. I've been on it since there's a lot of interesting conversations goes on there. And like with the YouTube video where you can put some notes in the chat and you can comment that way. It's just a nice little touch to be able to actually articulate what you want to say with a voice note. I like it. Yeah,
the audience engagement's really good. So like if you put a voice note in, you're involved and you're invested in the show, and then that means your interest is higher. So tonight we are talking about evolution, aren't we? So we're saying evolution is a fact. Try and change our minds. So we're looking for those people that doubt evolution, and we want their best arguments over voice notes so that we can react to them. And we'll talk a bit about it as well during the in between each voice note. So that's what we're doing. So please come and check it out. 9 p.m. UK time. If you're listening to the podcast as it's come out, then obviously you'll get a chance. If not, then the show would have already happened, and you can still check it out on Stereo. The shows are still up there afterwards. What we'll do is I'll put a link in the description of this podcast for the profile so you can go and check it out. We look forward to seeing you there. Right, okay, let's crack on. So, future guests. So you asked what sort of guests I would like on. I'll answer that in a minute, but a bit of a preview what we've got. So, next week, which I'm really looking forward to, we've got that moon landing denier on. And he's the one with the 5 pictures which he thinks proves that we didn't land on the moon. So it's kind of a first for the podcast. We're having someone on who is a conspiracy theorist, and they're going to try and prove to us why he thinks that we didn't land on the moon. Now, obviously, it'll be quite difficult because the 5 pictures will be visual, but all of the video will be up on the YouTube channel as well, so you'll be able to see the images on there. That should be good, shouldn't it? What do you reckon on that one? Do you think we'll get some good arguments?
I'm looking forward to that. And I've always got a little bit, I wouldn't say a soft spot for moon landing deniers at all. I don't mean it like that, but I think there's a chance that's larger than zero that the moon landing could have been a hoax, and people will take that out of context. I'm talking about 1 in trillions. Whereas something like flat Earth, there's just no chance whatsoever.
It's not ridiculous, isn't it? It's one of those ones that's not ridiculous. So like flat Earth is like ridiculous, completely not possible. But if you're listening to someone who doubts that we landed on the moon, then it's not something that you think, oh no, that's out there, that's totally out there, that's completely impossible. But like you say, it's obviously a tiny percentage. But it should be good. Should be good. I'm looking forward to hearing some of the arguments and whether they've got any credibility.
Well, that's it with the moon landing denial. A lot. You can make some arguments that make sense. You can make the argument that, there was motive because of the Cold War and Russia was leading the space race, etc. Or you can make arguments that are scientifically illiterate. You could say the flag shouldn't be flapping on the moon. And those arguments, I don't respect anyone who's going to argue. I don't respect the arguments, that the flag shouldn't flap on the moon or we shouldn't see stars or whatnot. So I suppose it depends what arguments he brings, really. Yeah. Hopefully they're not the ones where he just misinterprets science.
Yeah, hopefully not. If they're based on pictures as well, then I don't know, I worry about that a bit, that they're based on pictures, because they can obviously be misinterpreted and you know what it's like, you get that worm in your head and that's it, you're completely believe. So it should be an interesting one. Should be interesting with the moon landing denier. We're going to hopefully do that Science of Star Trek episode as well. And I'd like to try and kind of make a mini series out of that. I was trying to think of other things as well. Possibly Star Wars. The other thing I was thinking was Back to the Future or time-based films of that nature. Hopefully we could try and do something along those lines. There's another guest which I'm not gonna say now, but he is one co-host of possibly the largest science podcast that there is, I would say. I'm waiting for confirmation. I have told Catz who it is, and I think that would be quite big, wouldn't it, if he managed to get on? If you can remember.
It would be incredible. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that show. Yeah. So that's all I'll say.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's hopefully coming up. We've got another lady called Emily Grossman, who's another science TV presenter, who hopefully we've got coming on. We've also got, I haven't told you this one, Kat, yet, Paul Osier and Shannon Q. They're coming on together. So we can have a good chat about atheism and stuff like that. It should be good fun. Along similar lines that we had with Matt Dillahunty. Mm-hmm. I've also got, so these aren't confirmed, these potential guests, but they're in the works. The wheels are turning. I've still got a NASA astronaut, so I'm still having a back and forth with NASA regarding a potential astronaut. I had to go through all these channels of sending off forms and stuff, and whether or not people have got availability. But hopefully, fingers crossed, at some point there will be an astronaut who has been on the ISS on the podcast.
Wow.
Another one is a guy called Steve Brissett, who wrote a book called Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs. That's not going to be for at least till the summer, but we can get our teeth into the dinosaur conspiracies with him. There's quite a few of those, isn't it, with Kent Hovind and stuff like that, who thinks they were... what does he think it was? He thinks it was with man, doesn't he? 6,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago or something. He thinks dinosaurs.
Yeah. He loves dinosaurs. He doesn't doubt them at all, does he? No. But he just thinks we lived with them, yeah?
Yeah. Where does he stand on how they died out then?
That's a heck of a question. I've never asked him that in any of the debates I've had with him.
He wasn't prepared for it, that's why.
In the one debate I had with him, I didn't ask him that.
Yeah. By the way, I did a video on Standing for Truth. You know Standing for Truth? So he's like you've had a couple of debates with him, haven't you?
I have 2 or 3 now, yeah.
Yeah, so Standing for Truth is like a religious YouTuber who is very anti-evolution, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I did a video on one of his about the problem of inbreeding, incest in what he perceived to be there's a problem in evolution, and I countered it and said there's a problem in the Bible, whatever. And he wasn't happy. There's about a 2-hour response from him on my 10-minute video.
That.
Yes. So, it's him and I don't know if you know.
He does have that in the debates.
I was going to say, I don't know if you know Raw Matt as well. That's his mate.
Yeah, Matt Powell.
Yeah.
Raw Matt.
Yeah, that's it.
Powell. Yeah. Go
on. What was it? What were the debates like with him?
Well, he was very civil. He was very polite, and we allowed each other to talk, etc. And it was great. But his big thing is what he called genetic entropy.
Yes.
He said that information just gets lost over time. Information gets destroyed over time. So obviously, if we trace that back, our genes are only going to get more and more perfect, and so you'll end up, with people stepping off the ark with perfect genes. So I countered that by saying, well, you could perhaps take a book, maybe that's a couple of thousand years old that has been translated from one language to the next over hundreds and hundreds of years, and maybe that should now not be taken at face value because of the loss of information in that.
Yeah.
But apparently that was wrong.
Oh right, of course. Yeah. No, that's pretty much what his argument was about not inbreeding not being a problem for creation, about the fact it was perfect. And I was just like, well, the definition of inbreeding doesn't care on the outcome of what is happening. It doesn't care whether it's perfect or not. The definition of inbreeding is having children with close relations. It's just you can't get away from that. And they went,
exactly.
him and his friend Matt went on a big rant and whatever. But yeah, so guests who I'd love. Right, there's quite a few guests who I would really love to have on the podcast. But they're all really big. I would love Richard Dawkins. Well, I don't think that's impossible. He's done some work with Cosmic Skeptic, and Cosmic Skeptic is a similar size to myself, so it might not be impossible, but I'd love to talk to Richard Dawkins about evolution and all the arguments from evolution deniers and things like that. That'd be a great one. I think that there's another one as well who is big, and everyone would think, oh yeah, you're going to say Brian Cox, but I think Neil deGrasse Tyson would be great to have on. Yeah, he's got a lot of personality about him for sure, isn't he? I think he'd make a really interesting. Yeah, and he's got that knack as well of making everything sound interesting. Like whatever he's talking about, it was he could probably talk about pendulums and make them sound interesting.
Yeah,
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
So, I remember I did my physics A level. I did a project on pendulums, and I think I almost fell asleep in the class.
They funny should mention that I've been writing a scientific textbook page on pendulums just this week actually, and circular motion.
Yeah.
So, and I nearly put myself to sleep. Yeah. So I know what you mean.
Oh dear, brilliant. What about you? Any guests that you would like on?
I mean, you've got your obvious ones, haven't you? You mentioned Brian Cox before. That's great. But I'd like to get somebody from the world of entertainment that isn't perhaps science related. Maybe a well-known comedian or somebody that engages really well with people on Twitter, and just get an outsider's view from them on. That's a good idea. Yeah. On flat Earth, and do they know any flat earthers, or maybe somebody like that who does in the real life know a flat earther and can comment on what they've done to try and maybe bring them out of that hole and the damage that flat Earth might do.
Absolutely, that's a good idea. Actually, I was looking at people that aren't in science, so like celebrities, entertainers who aren't in science that hold scientific qualifications, and there's actually quite a lot of them. And I thought maybe a good idea to maybe get some of those types of people on, because again, like you say, it'd be their job isn't science. Their job is to be in entertainment or whatever, but they have a good background in science. So it'd be good to get their ideas on the conspiracies and whether they know much and stuff like that. So maybe that could be one for the future too.
Yeah, it's excellent idea.
Right. So one more thing I'm going to talk about, and that is I've got a new game idea. Now, this is the first time I've discussed it with you. Guess the conspiracy. We're 10-8 up. So what we're going to do is we're going to say it's best of 21. Is that fair? No.
Best of 21?
Not best of 21. What am I talking about? Best of 41. Best of 41.
Okay.
Yeah, best of 41. So then, we only have to win one more, and then we are the champions. That's fair, yeah? Is that fair?
Not if it's best of 41. If it's best of 21, we've got to win one more. If it's best of 41, we've got to win 11 more.
No. It's hang on. It's 10-8. So 8. What am I talking about? What? I was right the first time, wasn't I? Right. Best of 21.
First time, yeah.
Best of 21. But it's fine. I'll edit that out. It's good. I won't edit out because it's funny. So best of 21. So that means we only need to win one more and we're the champions. That's fair.
Yeah. And that's obviously an inevitability.
Yeah.
Because we can just edit it to make it look like we did.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do that. But so this is the new game. Okay, it's called the Scientist game. Right? It's a Scientist game. Now this is going to be you versus the guest. So
let's do it.
I'm out of this one. I'm the quiz master in this one. So what I'm going to do is I basically start by talking about a scientist that is unknown to you and the guest. And I'm going to go through a list of their achievements and their educational qualifications from the past, in their past to the present, and whoever guesses the scientist right first from the clues that I'm giving gets the point. That's the game. What do you think?
That sounds amazing. Tell me you've got a practice run.
I haven't actually, but as an example, which we won't use obviously, I could say. Was a keyboarder for D Ream, and then go from there. All right. And incidentally, you'd like this. Professor Dave, he was in a band.
I've seen a video on his channel. I think I don't know whether he's got a second channel where he just puts his music stuff. I can't remember now, or whether he put it on his main channel. But I've actually seen he put a video up of him playing the gig once. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, you're like the American version of Brian Cox in a band. Now you're. He said he was touring when he first started writing all the videos, the scripts for the videos and stuff. He was touring. It was like a secondary source of income.
He has got a video out on his channel, and I think someone had asked him like, "Are you a real professor?" or something, and he just made a video like, "Am I a real professor?" and he outlined his history in the video. And he said he was in a band touring, and he had quite an interesting backstory.
Yeah, cool. Anyways, so that's the game. So there could be any scientist from history. So it won't just be people alive; it could be people that aren't alive. So it'll basically be you versus, and I will probably tailor it so that it's probably in the field of the guest that we've got, just to make it a bit fairer. That's not fair on you. I know that's not fair on you, but
sorry, mate. I'm going to regret saying this, but I'll be fine.
Oh, that's fine. Right. Okay,
that.
Here we go. So this is the new game. So once we've done Guess the Conspiracy, and once Catz and I have achieved the win, then we'll move on to the new game called the Scientist game, and we'll see how Catz does against scientists. So that is the plan. Right, there we go. That was a good catch-up, actually. Good catch-up episode. Reviewing what we've done, future stuff. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been a blast. It's been an absolute ride. And honestly, like you said at the beginning, some of the guests we've had on, to have had the chance to sit and talk to them has been absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And I'm going to mention Jim Al-Khalili again just because I'm a big fan of his. It was great.
Yeah, completely agree.
It's brilliant.
Right, that's it then. We're done. As I said, next week we are facing off against the moon landing denier. They're going to bring their 5 pictures which proves to that person that we didn't land on the moon. Should be fun. Other than that, have yourselves a good week and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.